Chapter 22. And it came to pass after these things, that God did prove Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Take now your son, your only son, whom you love, even Isaac, and get you into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell you of. And Abraham rose early in the morning, and saddled his ass, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and he cleaved the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up, went into the place of which God had told him. On the 3rd day Abraham lifted up his eyes, and saw the place afar off. And Abraham said unto the young men, Abide you here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder, and we will worship and come back to you. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering, and laid it upon Isaac his son, and he took in his hand the fire and the knife, and they went both of them together. And Isaac spoke unto Abraham his father, and he said, My father. And he said, Here am I, my son. And he said, Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? And Abraham said, God will provide himself the lamb for a burnt offering, my son. So they went both of them together. And they came to the place which God had told him of. And Abraham built the altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Lay not your hand upon the lad, neither do you anything unto him. For now I know that you are a God-fearing man, seeing you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes, and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in the thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram, and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. And Abraham called the name of the place Adonai Yireh, and it is said to this day, In the mount where the Lord is seen. And the angel of the Lord called unto Abraham a second time out of heaven, and said, By myself have I sworn, saith the Lord, because you have done this thing, and have not withheld your son, your only son, that in blessing I will bless you, and in multiplying I will multiply your seed as the stars of heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore, and your seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. And in your seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because you have hearkened to my voice. So Abraham returned unto his young men, and they rose up, and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham dwelt at Beersheba. And it came to pass after these things, that it was told Abraham, saying, Behold, Milcah, she also has borne children unto your brother Nahor, Uz his firstborn, and Buz his brother, and Kemuel the father of Aram, and Chesed, and Hatzol, and Pildash, and Yidlaf, and Bethuel. And Bethuel begot Rebekah. These 8 did Milcah bear to Nahor, Abraham's brother. And his concubine, whose name was Reumah, she also bore Tebah, and Gaham, and Tachash, and Maachah. All right, let's go back up to verse 1. Now, in the last chapter, the Lord had remembered Sarah, and she had conceived and brought forth a child. And Hagar had been sent away, her and Ishmael, and the Lord had once again reconfirmed that blessing that he had put upon Ishmael. But also we had the story of Abimelech and Phicol, his captain of his host, where the well of Beersheba would be established, that well of the oath, that well of the 7, which we know the 7 ewe lambs, But this 7, we'll find out, is to confirm it, to where it all sits is in this oath at the well between Abraham and Abimelech. He was the king of the father of the king. But we're going to pick up here in verse 1, in a period just after these things. Verse 1, and it came to pass after these things that God did prove Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. So it comes to pass now after these things, we find out in this, after this little deal with Abimelech, we're going to have, the Lord is going to prove Abraham, and to prove Abraham is to test him, and to test him, we'll find out, well, the Lord will always, he steps back just a bit, you might say, and there's a little bit more distance between Abraham and the Lord, and Abraham will see, he will listen very closely for the word of the Lord too. And he said, Take now your son, your only son, whom you lovest, even Yishak, and get you into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I tell you of. So now the Lord says to Abraham, Go, get you to the land of Moriah. Moriah is this place to see the presence, the place to see the presence. It means to see this presence that we're talking about is the presence of the Lord himself, and offer him for a burnt offering his son Ishaq. That's his only son. And we'll find out now the Lord's already testing Abraham and the absence of the Lord, because this is the adversity speaking to Abraham now. He's being tested. Because he will have to prove himself. 3. And Abraham rose early in the morning, and saddled his ass, took 2 of his young men with him, and Yishak his son, and he cleaved the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up, went unto the place of which God had told him. So Abraham gets up early in the morning. That's when the sun's coming for the little enlightenment. Saddles his ass, he prepares his way, his journey. An ass is something that's going to carry whatever he loads it with, the burden, or even the ruler. We could look at it that way. And took 2 of his young men, 2, because there's going to be a witness here. There's a witness here in its youth. We can even look at it like that. And he takes them with him. And Yishak was his son, this one who was born from him, this laughter, the pleasantness, this joy that was given to him. He cleaves the wood for the burnt offering, and to cleave it, he busts it up, splits the wood up, loads it on the ass, most likely, all the wood for this burnt offering, that which is going to make atonement. And he rose up. He gets up early and went to the place which God had told him. 4. On the 3rd day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off. So on the 3rd day, 3, once again, it's always to make it strong. Day is a cycle of darkness and light, a little understanding, and this to make strong that little bit of understanding. Abraham's being tested. A little commandment where he was told to go before, the Lord did distance himself slightly, and Abraham is facing the adversity at this time. He sees this place afar off, and we're talking about the place where the Lord had instructed him to go. 5, and Abraham said unto his young men, Abide you here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder, and we will worship and come back to you. So Abraham says to his young men, that's these that was with him, those 2, that was going to witness this. Abide you here with the ass. Stay here with this. And once again, that ass is what carries the burden or the ruler. I and the lad will go yonder, and we will worship and come back to you. So Abraham's going to take Ishmael, and they're going to continue to the place where the Lord has instructed him to go. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering, he laid it upon Ishmael his son, and he took in his hand the fire and the knife, and they went both of them together. So Abraham takes the wood. That's what's going to make the fire. It's going to be used as the fuel for this burnt offering, that which is going to make atonement. And he lays it upon Yishiak, his son. And Yishiak would carry this. It's that laughter, his joy, this one that comes forth from him. He would carry that, even which is going to be consumed. And he took in his hand the fire and the knife, and they went both of them together. And he takes in his hand, and that's his works. The fire, that fire is that portion that's going to be used. It's like the judgment underneath it all that heats it up, that causes it to burn. And the knife. Knife here is that which cuts up. It cuts up whatever you're eating. Is really it destroys it, parts it, whatever you do with it. And they both went of them together. So he's got his knife, he's got the fire, and Yishiak's loaded with the wood. 7. Yishiak spoke unto Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here am I, my son. He said, Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? So Yishiak, he's a young lad, and he's not quite in full understanding, but he has enough sense to figure out that the wood, the fire's here, but where is the lamb? This is to be offered for a burnt offering. This lamb, the sheep or the goat as one of the members of the flock. Where is this that is to be used for? I guess would be a better way to say it. It wasn't necessarily say lamb here. Where is this that's to be used for a burnt offering, or that to make atonement? 8. And Abraham said, God will provide himself the lamb for a burnt offering, or that which is going to be used for the offering, my son. So they went both of them together. And it's just a spot where this word here, one that's come from the field, this lamb here is shahah. It's through the idea of pushing out to graze. It's a member of the flock, that is a sheep, a goat, a lesser, a small cattle, ewe, goat, lamb, sheep. It doesn't necessarily mean a lamb. As we'll find out, that's not what's used. 9. And they came to the place which God had told him of, and Abraham built the altar there and laid the wood in order, and bound Yishiak his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And we'll see here that the Lord's testing Abraham. He's gone down to build this altar, to offer a burnt offering, to make atonement for something, and we'll find out it's nothing that Abraham's done. He builds the altar. He lays the wood in order, or prepares the wood according to the way it would have to be prepared, and he bound Yishiak his son. We'll find out at this moment Abraham's common sense has been removed. The Lord is not with him, and he's testing Abraham to see just how far he would go. The adversary is, and he laid him on the altar upon the wood, and he prepares to offer up his son. Well, no, the Lord would never ask such a thing. But adversity, the adverse one, has been sent to try, to test, just to see how far he would go. 10. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and he took the knife to slay his son. So Abraham puts forth now his work. He takes the knife. He's prepared to offer up his son. 11. And the angel of the Lord called unto him of heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham, he said, here am I. And the angel of the Lord calls out to Abraham, 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 to stop him. And he said, here am I. We'll find out he was waiting for that voice, waiting for the word. The book of Yashar gives a little bit of more understanding than this. We'll find out Abraham returns to his senses, comes back to his understanding, finding when the angel calls unto him, 12, and he said, lay not your hand upon the lad, neither do you anything unto him. For now I know that you are a God-fearing man, seeing you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. We'll see the Abraham's intent was to follow that voice of his heart, and he had, to the moment that the Lord had re-entered with common sense that this is not nothing that's required by the Lord to make atonement for anything. 13. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in the thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for the burnt offering in the stead of his son. And Abraham lifted up his eyes. He changed his perceptions. He come back to his understanding, and he looked. Behold, behind him a ram. A ram, as the one got some horns, the one that exalts himself over the rest of the flock, caught in the thicket by his horns. Caught in the thicket, we'll find out, tangled up in that thorns, or them entanglings of that which is on his head. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him for the burnt offering instead of his son. So Abraham, the father of many nations, went and took the ram. That's the one the Lord had sent prior to the even Yeshiach being coming to that point. But we'll find that adversity had entangled it. That was the purpose of the ram in the beginning, was to be offered. And at verse 1, tangled it up in that. But we'll find out Abraham offers him for the burnt offering in the stead of his son, that which the adverse one wanted to see offered. And the ram makes the atonement for that we'll find out the sin. 14. And Abraham called the name of that place Adonai Yireh, as it is said to this day, in the mount where the Lord is seen. And he called that place where this happened, this here word is the holy name, that presence of the Lord himself, being seen, or having been seen or perceived, and it's what it's called today. That's the place where the Lord is seen, or the presence of the Lord is seen. 15. And the angel of the Lord called unto Abraham a second time out of heaven. And this angel, this deputy of the Lord, called out to Abraham a second time. And second, because it's a time of witness, out of the understanding, out of heaven, and said, By myself have I sworn, saith the Lord, because you have done this thing, and have not withheld your son, your only son, and said, By myself have I sworn. And by myself, this right here, we'll find out, it is to have sworn 7 times myself. And once again, just like that oath of 7, this word comes forth from the Lord from that holy presence of the Lord, saying, because you have done this thing, you have not withheld your son, your only son, we find out you faced adversity and had overcome. And to overcome adversity is to come to your common sense, or to return back to the understanding the Lord gave you from the beginning. 17, and basically because these things were that which was required by all the other understandings the Lord had put over all the other nations at that time, all the other parts of the earth, and it simply was not part of Abraham's understanding. 17, that in blessing I will bless you, and in multiplying I will multiply your seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore, and your seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. That in blessing, that in this blessing, that I will bless you. To show, that the Lord does not require any such offerings in any such way. And in multiplying, I will multiply your seed. That's what's going to come forth from it as the stars of heaven, and just like these little lights in the understandings, even these little lights that give some in the darkness witnesses, as the sand which is upon the seashore. And it's just like the stars that are in heaven, the sand upon seashores for witnesses. The Lord never required it. And your seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. And we'll find out that's how the seed possesses the gate. That gate's that place of judgments where you go in and out. That's that place where you go in and out. That's what a gate is, of your enemies, and that's because they are enclosed. They are trapped in that understanding, and that's the place where you have to just sooner or later come to your common sense. The Lord either is going to return you or he's not. 18, and in your seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because you have hearkened to my voice. Your seed, because you've hearkened, all the nations of the earth be blessed. The example was made, because you have hearkened to my voice. You've listened to me. You've listened to my voice. The Lord never required any such offering. Adversity came, and for a small amount of time, one might lose the proper perspectives, but the ideal is to return to that understanding the Lord gave you in the beginning. No such thing required. 19. So Abraham returned unto his young men, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba. And Abraham dwelt at Beersheba. So Abraham returns with his young men, and we can witness those young men. There was two of them. And they rose up and went together to Beersheba. So they go to Beersheba. That's that place, that fountain of that oath of 7. We'll find out this. Now we witness that because that's what that oath of 7 is going to stand for. Not only that of Abimelech, that's the father of the king. We'll find out this oath that the Lord made, that the Lord will supply the one who exalts himself over the rest of the flock. 20. And it came to pass after these things that it was told Abraham, saying, Behold, Milcah, she also hath borne children unto your brother Nachor. And it came to pass just after these things that it was told to Abraham. One tells him, brings tidings to him, a word come to him, saying, Behold, now look and see, Milcah, that's the queen, remember her, she also hath borne children unto your brother Nachor. Nachor was this one who was snorting. Snorting is more like a snort, and boasting himself. That's the brother of Abraham. Brothers, one has the same understanding. One has the same understanding, but it is not the same. He's the brother, or maybe almost the opposite. brother too. 21. Uts, his firstborn, Butz, his brother, and Kemuel, the father of Aram. And there would be Uts, his firstborn. That's that one who would come forth first. This one of advice, consultation. And then there would be Butz, his brother, or kind of like the opposite of that. Butz, his brother. Same understanding, but slightly different. Butz means to be despised or disrespected. So you got the one who would have consultation. You got one who kind of disrespects it. There's Kemuel, the father of Adam. Kemuel is this one that's raised up the mighty one. He lifted up of the mighty one. He would give birth to Adam. It's no wonder. Adam means the exalted, or those that have been lifted up. 22. Kesed and Hatzol, Bildash, Yidblaf, and Bethuel. Kesed be increased. Those that have been increased. Hatzol, seer, one who perceives. Pildash, the flame of fire. This flame of fire, of course, that's what's burning. Yidlaf. There's weeping. And Bethuel, destroyed of the mighty one. And we'll find out the perceptions are that the judgment is crying for that which has been destroyed by the mighty one. And we'll find out that's exactly what happens. 23. And Bethuel begot Rebekah. These 8 did Milcah bear to Nachor, Abraham's brother. And Bethuel, that was those that are destroyed of the mighty one, begot Rebekah. Rebekah means these that are restrained by beauty, or held back by beauty, or something pleasant. These 8, eight's always a new beginning. Did Milcah bear to Nachor, Abraham's brother? And we'll find out there was a new beginning. There's two. We can always witness that. There's always a new beginning for both ways. These 8 did Milcah bear. Milcah, once again the queen, bear to Nachor, give birth to Nachor, that one that's boasting or snorting. Snorting in a sense of that boasting. Abraham's brother, Abraham, or this one who had was of the same understanding as Abraham, as the father of many nations. 24. And his concubine, whose name was Reumah, she also bore Tabal and Gaham and Takash and Maachah. And his concubine, or this other one that would bear seed to him, or add to his name, whose name was Reumah. Reumah is those that are raised, those that are lifted up. She would give birth to Tabah. That's those that to be slaughtered. And Gaham, that's to be burned. And Takash. Takash is like an animal that's acceptable. It's that which is acceptable to be offered up. And Maachah. And Maachah is that's stuck in the pit, or that which is set there. It's prepared there. It's in the hole, or the place, the pit, for that purpose. Let's move forward. Genesis chapter 23. Turn and return.